Hello and welcome. You are watching the Daily News Simplified. I'm Ankit. So, in today's DNS, that is 19th of June, we'll be covering 7 important articles. So, without further ado, let us move straight away with the first article. And please, before that, do not forget to give our video a thumbs up. So, coming to the first article of the day, which you can see appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now, this article highlights that the Chief of Defense Staff he has released a blueprint for warfare in the cyberspace. Now, as you can understand, India's threats, it emerged from three different dimensions. That was from land, air, and sea. However, in recent times, we have seen increasing in threats on the another set of domain that is in countries' cyberspace. Now, in this regard, the country's armed forces they have released a joint warfare to deal with threats that emerge in countries' cyberspace domain. So, this article will be covering details related to cybersecurity, as it is essential to protect India's cyberspace from threats which emerge from both state and non-state actors. Further, this topic is important from GS paper 3 perspective because as you can see, the syllabus itself highlights basics related to cybersecurity. Further, questions related to cybersecurity have been appearing quite recently and in number of mains examinations. For example, in the mains of the year 2022, a question appeared on different elements of cybersecurity. So this topics become very much essential for the perspective of mains examination. So in this regard, we'll understand what are the various tenets of cybersecurity and how it is essential for a country like India to protect its cyberspace from both state and non-state actors. In addition, we'll also understand issues that the countries face in addition to a suggestive way forward. So let us begin our discussion so as to how or why is there a need for a country to protect itself from a cyber attack. Now in this regard, let us understand how attacks they impact a country like India. For example, cyber crimes which is related to cyber attacks, it relates or it leads to significant financial loss. For example, Indians they have lost as much as 10,319 crore worth of money from cyber attacks, and this has been from 2021 to present domain. Further, if unchecked, this will lead to about $20 billion loss in the next 10 years. So you can understand protecting country from cyberspace, it is quite important in order to prevent financial loss to the citizens of our country. Further, government has been emphasizing on putting all our data on the internet because it provides us with ease to access of our personal data. So for example, government brought forward a unique ID system which was called as Aadhaar. In addition to publishing our educational documents on country's DigiLocker. So all these initiatives, as you can understand, puts our personal and sensitive data in the domain of internet. Now, as you can understand, as all these data is present on the internet, it increases the risk of cyber attacks on this data in order to gain unauthorized access. So in order to protect countries' citizens and their personal data, it is also very essential to protect country from cyber attacks. Additionally, there are many critical infrastructure which is essential for the functioning of our country. For example, telecommunication sector, transportation sector, or as far as power sector also. Because all these important critical infrastructure, they function through essentially they are connected through internet. So connection with internet, it is essential for uninterrupted functioning of these critical sectors. So for example, whenever cyber attack it happens on these critical infrastructure, it denies us with the availability of critical infrastructure in the country, which you can understand will significantly hamper any country's economy. So also to protect our country's critical infrastructure from unauthorized access and cyber attacks, it is also essential for us to have a decent amount of cyber security in general. Further, India's information and communication sector is quite developed because it results into significant amount of employment creation, and also it leads to significant amount of exports out of the country. So it is very much essential for any developing country like India to protect the integrity of its information and communication sector. Now, in terms of growth, country's information and communication sector, it is expected to become a $330 billion industry by the year 2027. So, to protect the country's information and communication technology sector and its integrity, it is also essential for us to have a significant cybersecurity measures. Also, as you can understand, more and more people every day they are gaining access to country's internet infrastructure because it is assumed that country currently has about 820 million internet users, more than 50% of which they are from rural areas. Now, despite increase in access to internet, country's digital literacy level has not increased in a simultaneous manner. So this exposes people to the vulnerability in cyberspace domain. And further, this cyberspace, it is very much essential as people use internet to purchase items from e-commerce site or make online payments, for example, through UPI. So the protection of country's e-commerce and payment sector and banking, it is also essential to protect India's economy as a whole. So all these factors, they can be significantly hampered in case of cyber attacks. So in this regard, government has brought forward several steps in order to protect the country from cyber attacks in general. The first measure, it can be categorized or clubbed as an institutional measure because government it brought forward many institutions which are responsible for ensuring cyber security in the country. For example, there's a National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center which takes care of country's critical infrastructure and it ensures cyber security of India's critical infrastructure sector. Further, there is National Cyber Security Coordination Committee which scans incoming and outgoing traffic and it in real time assesses the threats that are there to India's cyberspace in general. Further, there are also bodies like CERT-in, which is Computer Emergency Response Team. As this agency, it is responsible for protection of country's telecommunication sector from cyber attacks in general. So these institutions or institutional measures they were taken by government in order to have institutions which are responsible for protecting cyberspace in general. Further, government also enacted certain legislation in this regard. For example, there's an Information Technology Act which was brought forward in the year 2000. As this act, it provides a legal framework for transaction which is carried over online medium, and it also provides data access to only certain amount or certain categories of individuals because it is essential to protect India's cyber security. Further, government's policies in cyberspace, it is determined by National Cybersecurity Policy, which was brought forward in the year 2013. Now, this cybersecurity policy, it gave the government a way forward on how to establish institutions and what kind of measures should it take in case of cyber attacks. So these were the legislative measures. Further, government is also engaged with other intergovernmental parties and organizations in order to promote cybersecurity in general. For example, it has engaged in what you can call cyber diplomacy with other country such as US in order to gain better understanding of cybersecurity domain in the country. Further, the government of India it has also engaged with other intergovernmental bodies and NGOs like World Economic Forum, International Telecommunications Union, and it has participated in various initiatives by these bodies which can constitute international measures that have been taken by government to strengthen the country's cybersecurity framework. However, despite all these measures, there have been certain challenges which government faces in ensuring cybersecurity. So let us take a look at these challenges one by one. The first and probably the most important challenge is the presence of critical data in a country with multiple organizations. As I've already highlighted, UIDAI, which protects data which it has taken under the Aadhaar UID scheme. Further, country's atomic sector, the protection of which is under the Department of Atomic Energy. Also, there are educational departments of various state governments, which has your educational related data. In addition to health department, which has your sensitive health related data. Now, protection of all these data are under the different organizations, both under union as well as state government. So this presence of multiple organization, it increases the challenge related to coordination between these organizations. Because first of all, as you can understand, the data is decentralized and various other bodies are managing these siloed data. So as you can understand, as there are many bodies which are responsible for undertaking cybersecurity, there are increased chance of mismanagement or miscommunication between these agencies. Further, there have been lack of awareness among people in general related to various cybersecurity threats, because every day you must be hearing that people click on unauthorized and spam links, which leads to theft from their bank accounts. And this highlights that there have been lack of awareness among the people of our country, because in general access to internet has been increasing. However, the commensurate increase in countries' digital literacy has not happened. So this has led to significant amount of money and financial loss among people due to lack of awareness. Further, people in general, they are not aware on the need to ensure standard devices and softwares in their internet devices. For example, country's mobile phone, they are either operated on Android system or the iOS operating system, whereas computers, they have Windows software of various kinds of Windows software. However, whenever these softwares are not updated periodically, or these are of unauthorized or unlicensed version of the softwares, it increases the risk of people of coming onto cyber attacks, because if these devices are not updated thoroughly, it can lead to opening up of various gaps which are then exploited by the cyber criminals to gain unauthorized access to your devices. Further, there have been an international convention called Budapest Convention, which was brought forward by many countries in general. Now, this convention, it aimed at harmonizing laws, bringing out better investigative techniques and increasing the cooperation among various countries. However, Government of India has not been a part of this convention in general. So you can understand Government of India or India in general has been out of framing the Budapest Convention, which is essential for gaining access to cybersecurity techniques. Further, as I've highlighted, the policy framework which is followed by the government in order to protect cybersecurity of our country, it is based on outdated laws such as IT Act, which was enacted back in 2000, as well as National Cybersecurity Policy, which was brought forward in the year 2013. And since then, there have been many technological advances in the field of cybersecurity and cyberspace. However, these legislations and policies, they have proven to be inadequate to deal with various emerging challenges in the field of cyberspace. Further, despite large population, India also witnesses shortage of skilled professionals, especially in the government and private sector. And because of absence of skilled professionals who are responsible for cybersecurity, we have seen increased cases of unreported incidents. And this, in addition to emerging threats due to evolving technology, has created challenges in the field of cybersecurity. So in this regard, let us take a look at what should be the way forward in order to make India a secure in a cyberspace domain. And the first suggestion in this regard is to secure the domain of cyberspace by enabling the country's armed forces. And in this regard, today's news article becomes important. Because first of all, there is a need to ensure or include cyberspace into the national security fabric of our country. Because by ensuring the cyberspace or making it as a part of national security fabric will ensure the country's armed forces to assess the threats to country's cyberspace and also respond in kind to various cyber attacks on the country. Further, it also requires enhanced synergy between the various security agencies. Because as I've already highlighted, the storage of country's critical information, it is quite decentralized with many departments in general. However, to have a various and increased sense of cyber security, it is essential to make or enhance this synergy between different departments. Further, there is also a need to deter the increasing instances of cyber attacks on our country, which makes forward or makes it imperative for countries' armed forces to bring a joint doctrine. Because through joint doctrine, the country's armed forces will be able to better plan and then execute the operations related to cyberspace and cyber attacks. Further, as I've already highlighted, attribution of cyber attacks is quite difficult because whenever cyber attack happens, it is quite difficult for us to understand who or which party made that cyber attack. And in this regard, absence of international cooperation plays a key role because currently there are no acceptable norms in order to how to function in a cyberspace domain. And in this regard, there are no defined red lines on what kind of attacks will then be constituted as an attack on the country in general. So it is very much essential to foster international cooperation between various countries. First of all, to define what kind of red line should be there in country's cyberspace. And also, it will help understand the various nuances of cybersecurity. And in this regard, there is a need for India to sign the Budapest Convention on Cybercrime, as then India will be a party to convention and it will enable India to gauge the policy and make its policy regarding to its own convenience. Further, as I've already highlighted, India's cyberspace policy, it is guided by National Cybersecurity Policy of the year 2013. However, this policy, although it gave principles of cyberspace, however, it lacked operational details. So in order to make, there's a need to update this policy based on current circumstances. Further, as I've already highlighted, many state government agencies such as educational department, health department, they have significant amount of personal data. So there's also a need to update policy for cybersecurity at state level as well in order to make our country state more cyber secure in general. Further, there are many regulatory bodies in our country such as Reserve Bank of India or Computer Emergency Response Team. They have brought forward several framework in order to ensure security audit of their regulated entities and also ensure self-reporting in case of cyber attacks. So these security audit and self-reporting norms can also be extended to other fields as well. Further, as there have been increased instances of cyber attack, so has increased the demand for cyber insurance in the country. And you can understand this has become a burgeoning market because of increased demand of cyber insurance. However, more than 80% of our country's cyber insurance demands are fulfilled after outsourcing to other countries such as Singapore. So there is very much need to evolve a cyber insurance framework and make our companies more build a company's capacity in order to provide these cyber insurance policies in our country itself. So these were the suggestions that have been enacted and that should be enacted by government in general in order to make our country's cyber domain more secure and safe. So with this, we move to second article of the day, which also appeared in the Hindu newspaper. Now this article highlights that Women's Panel, that is National Commission for Women, it has received over 12,600 complaints in this year itself. Now this body is a statutory body, hence it is important from GS paper 2 syllabus. Further, as you can see from this PYQ of the year 2020, a question straight away appeared on imparting constitutionality to the National Commission for Women. So this body, that is National Commission for Women, becomes important from the perspective of mains examination. Now in this regard, let us understand what kind of body is National Commission for Women. Now as you can understand, this body was enacted through this particular piece of legislation. Hence, it makes this body a statutory organization. Now, this body acts as an apex body which monitors and influences state policies with regards to women in our country. Now, the function of this body is discharged to three different divisions. The first is a division called Complaints and Counseling Division, which looks into complaints made by women, and then it tries to resolve these complaints through counseling process. Further, there's also a legal cell under this commission which proposes numerous amendments to acts in order to make them more efficient and effective, and also it suggested what kind of new bills should be enacted by government to protect women in general. Further, this body also contains a research cell, and this cell has been responsible for carrying out of various studies related to violence against women from vulnerable sections such as scheduled caste and scheduled tribes, minorities, etc. It also undertakes welfare of divorcee women. It understands what kind of health and educational access are being provided to women in general, which makes this body an effective body. And in this regard, let us understand what kind of achievements have this body faced since the time it has been come into fruition. The first is that this body, that is National Commission of Women, played a key role in enactment of Domestic Violence Act of the year 2005. Further, during the instance of COVID-19 pandemic, where there was case of violence against women, this body came up with a WhatsApp number which enabled women to register their complaints over the WhatsApp messenger itself. Further, from time to time, this body has also proposed various amendments to key laws in the country. For example, Medical Termination of Pregnancies Act, which was brought forward in 1971, or amendments to Maternity Benefits Act of the year 1963. Further, this body also suggested amendments to Dowry Prevention Act of the year 1961 in order to make all these laws more effective and stringent in general. Further, this body also is responsible for creating legal awareness in order to make women understand what kind of rights do they have, and if the rights gets violated, what kind of recourse do the women have. Hence, this body is also responsible for addressing the grievances of women through various pre-litigation process. In this regard, the commission, it also organized Parivarik Mahila Lok Adalats in the country, which deals with the issues related to women and faced by them in their day-to-day lives. Further, this body, under the powers given under Section 8, subsection 1 of the Act, it also suggested or set up various inquiry commissions. As this inquiry commission was responsible for studying custodian violence against women prisoners or violence against women from vulnerable sections such as minorities, scheduled castes, etc. Also, this body is responsible for development of female labor and various avenues which are provided to these women. So these are the notable achievements that have been witnessed due to formation of National Commission for Women. However, functioning of this commission also faces several challenges. For example, this body is given powers which are not concrete in nature. Because this body, it submits reports to the government, which gives certain recommendations to make women's life better. However, these recommendations are not binding on the government, which makes this body less effective in general. Further, government exercises certain control over what kind of membership does this commission have, or what kind of finances is provided to this commission. For example, it is Government of India which appoints members to the National Commission of Women. And in recent times, we have seen there are political appointees who are appointed as members to the National Commission. And these appointees, they either lack experience or understanding of key women issues. Further, the commission, it operates on the grants which is given to the commission by the government itself. Hence, all these government control in terms of appointing members and providing finances, it jeopardizes the independence of this commission itself. Further, as you have witnessed, awareness in general among women has increased. So has increased the amount of complaints made to this body in general. However, the commensurate increase in the support staff which is given to the commission has not done so in a proper manner. And this has led to shortage of staff in the commission itself. Because the recent report, it highlights that in order to function effectively, this commission needs 100 employees. However, it has not been provided required number of employees. Further, the commission consists of 7 members only. So, based on various suggestions, it has been suggested that the commission should be expanded both in terms of employees as well as members. Additionally, there exists National Commission for Women at national level, whereas at state level, we see there are State Commission for Women. However, it is important to note that the State Commission of Women, they function autonomously way beyond the control of National Commission for Women, which creates issues such as there have been lack of coherency in order to deal with women issues in general, because there is no control over State Commission for Women by the National Commission of Women. Also, because of various other lacunas, we have seen that this body has been able to deal with women issue in a symbolic manner and not deal with the issue in a comprehensive manner. So these were the issues: that lack of concrete legislative powers, government control over finances and membership, shortage in staff, lack of coordination between national and state level bodies, as well as symbolism over substance creates challenges into day-to-day functioning of the National Commission for Women. So in this regard, let us understand what should be the way forward in order to make this commission more effective in general. The first suggestion in this regard, it is related to giving constitutional recognition to this National Commission of Women by amending Article 368 of the Constitution. Now, by providing constitutional recognition to National Commission for Women, it will provide this body the necessary teeth to deal with cases of injustice, and it will also enable the Commission to review safeguards which are given to women. Further, there should be enhanced legal powers that should be provided to Commission, which will enable these commissions to first of all enforce their directions and recommendation, and also prosecute the offenders related to women. Further, in order to for effective functioning, you also need enhanced funding for this commission in general, which can be given by independent budgeting of this body. Further, there is also a need to increase the levels of awareness among women in general. And in this regard, the commission should deploy the resources of commission at local levels in order to gauge the various challenges that are faced by women at local level in general. Further, in this regard, the commission should utilize mass media as well as social media to spread its message throughout the length and breadth of the country. Further, it is also essential to increase the commission's outreach to remote areas of the country, because these areas have women who are untouched by the commission in general. In this regard, the Commission should establish mobile units which will enable it to reach remote areas, and also it should engage with civil society organizations such as NGOs in order to enhance its reach. Further, there is also a need to enhance educational and empowerment level of women in general. And this can be done by making women understand their legal rights, by making women understand their financial implication, as well as improving the indicators required for health and educational level. So these are the suggestions that is needed for government to implement in order to make the National Commission for Women more effective in general. So with this, we move to next article of the day, which you can see appeared in the Hindu newspaper in its op-ed section. Now, as you can understand, it was expected that the census will be held by the year 2021. However, due to COVID-19 pandemic and other reasons, this has been postponed by the government from time to time. Now, census exercise is very much essential in gauging the levels of population in the country. And this makes it important from GS Paper 1 perspective. Further, questions related to population and their levels have been asked by UPSC before in the past. Case in point, this PYQ of the year 2015. So to summarize this entire article in just one slide, let me highlight that this article poses a question to the government. Now in this regard, let us understand what is this census exercise in general. Now this census exercise, it is in a basic level, a complete enumeration of the country's population. Now the legal sanctity to this exercise is provided by the Census Act of the year 1948, and it is conducted every 10 years. Now it has been conducted 15 times and it was first conducted in the year 1872. Now it is office of the Registrar General and Census Commissioner who functions under Ministry of Home Affairs. It is responsible for conducting this census exercise, and this exercise, it provides information related to size, distribution, socioeconomic characteristics, and demographics of our country's population. Now let us understand why it is first of all important to conduct census exercise for or in every 10 years. Because as you can understand, it is important to conduct census because it provides us with the comprehensive data such as various demographic profile, what kind of economic activities are the people involved in, and what is their educational and literacy level. Because based on this comprehensive data, this data acts as a foundation for government's policies and planning and allocation of resources. Further, this data, it provides you the adequate data in order to understand changes in our country's population, and it enables the government to forecast as well as plan its resources distribution in general. Further, the census data also provides us with various trends and insights into country's demographic profile. For example, it makes us understand at what rate the population is growing, what kind of ages do the population constitute, and what are their migration patterns across the country. Because this data, it helps the government to provide various facilities such as educational, health, or infrastructure creation. So based on the comprehensive data, first of all, government understand what is the change in our country's population, and based on this change, the government forecast and plans its allocation of resources. Further, data related to age, educational levels, and infrastructure creations, it also gives or enables the government to undertake provision of services such as educational services, healthcare services for adults or senior citizens, as well as creation of infrastructure in urban areas of the country. And in terms of application, this census data, it provides institution of local governance such as urban local bodies and panchayati raj institutions with the granular level of data that enables them to provide various services at the lowest administrative level of the country. Further, population data it is also used to ensure the distribution of political constituencies across the country, because it is needed to ensure fair and equitable distribution of population, and it is essential for representation of people in the legislations of our country. So based on the census data, the delimitation commission, it distributes the constituencies based on Lok Sabha as well as state legislative assembly. Further, the finance commission, which is the constitutional body responsible for allocation of financial resources, it also utilizes census data to allocate resources from union to various different states, because the amount of population it plays a key role in distribution of financial resources, and more is the population of state, it is provided with a adequate or proportional level of funds by finance commission. So these are the benefits on why should a country conduct periodic census exercise. However, as these exercises have been delayed simultaneously, it has led to several consequences. And let me help you understand it with various examples. First of all, government it implements various welfare schemes based on the population level of our country. For example, there's this National Food Security Act of the year 2013, which provides subsidized food grains to people in our country. And according to this act, about 67% of country's population is provided with subsidized food grain. Now, based on 2021 census data, the NFSA provisions are provided to 80 crore people in general. However, as the census exercise has not been conducted, it is expected that the beneficiary level for this particular scheme has increased to 92 crores. So, as government has not been able to increase the beneficiary base based on the census data, it is in a way depriving 12 crore people with the right to seek subsidized food grain from the government. And this also brings our attention to the possibility of legal challenge on the government, as by denying the 12 crore people the right to get subsidized food grain, government is also denying them the right which is provided to them under Article 21. As this article, it provides people the right to live life with dignity. However, as they are not able to get sufficient amount of food, it denies them the right under Article 21. Hence, it brings the government under the potential of a legal challenge by people of our country. So these were the consequences which the government can face due to delays in conduct of census election or census exercise in the country. So with this, we move to next article of the day, which you can see appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper. Now, this news article, it highlights that there have been certain economic projects which are undertaken in the Great Nicobar region, and this brings several environmental concern also. Now, this news article, it is important from GS Paper 3 perspective, as the syllabus deals with environmental pollution and degradation. So, in this regard, let us understand what are the projects that have been undertaken by the government in the region of Great Nicobar. Now, Andaman Nicobar Island Integrated Development Corporation, it has undertaken several projects in the area of Great Nicobar. First is, it is constructing an international transshipment terminal, which is a shipping terminal which will be used for shipment of various cargoes out of the country. Further, this body is also constructing an international airport. In addition to constructing of township for people and also certain power projects. Now, in hindsight, all these projects, they are very much essential for economic development of this region. And in this regard, let us understand what is the significance of Andaman and Nicobar Island. First of all, by construction of transshipment terminal, the government is looking to increase the revenues from freight or shipment corridors in the country. Because currently India is dependent on other transshipment ports such as Colombo and Singapore for transshipment or supply of its cargo out of the country. However, when India constructs a transshipment corridor in India itself, it will prevent the outgo of various revenue to other ports across the country. Further, by construction of international airport, it will also increase the levels of tourism in this region. So you can understand this is the economic imperative of the government, that is by undertaking developmental projects, it is improving the economy of the Great Nicobar region. Further, the location of Andaman and Nicobar, it is quite strategic for India as well, because India views itself as a regional power in the Indian Ocean region. Because this Andaman and Nicobar Island, it is there in Bay of Bengal region, and significant presence of Indian Navy in this region will allow the Navy to project its power to greater regions in the Indian Ocean region. Further, as this area it is quite near to the important straits such as Strait of Malacca, Sunda Strait or Lombok, presence of Indian military or Indian establishment in these islands will ensure India to monitor the developments across these important states in the Indian Ocean region. Further, it also enables Indian government to deploy more and more military assets in the Great Nicobar region, because as government is under constructing airfields, logistics for army, base for its military personnel, as well as surveilling infrastructure such as radars in general. So all these increases the military preparedness of India in order to counter the threat that can emerge from Indian Ocean region, primarily from that of China. So these are the strategic significance of Andaman and Nicobar Island. However, despite various developments across economic and military sector, there are several consequences as well. For example, this project has undertaken several ecological impact on the region, because it has led to felling up of trees, destruction of coral reefs, as well as threat to vulnerable species such as various turtles and birds. Also, construction or felling of trees, it also violates the right of indigenous tribal in the area, such as that of Shompen tribes. Also, this area is witness to significant seismic vulnerability also, because of 2004 tsunami incident. This area witnessed subsidence in its region. So this has increased the seismic vulnerability of Great Nicobar Islands. So these are the environmental concerns that any developmental project will face in the great region of Nicobar Islands. So with this, we move to next set of articles. Now, this news article, it is borrowed from a ad by the government, which is there in both the Hindu and the Indian Express newspaper. Now, this ad, it highlights that the Prime Minister of our country, that is Sri Narendra Modi, he will inaugurate the campus of Nalanda University. Now, as you may recall, Nalanda University is an important heritage which was there even in ancient times, and it provided education back in ancient Indian times also. Now this university, it is a part of India's heritage and culture, hence it is important from GS paper 1 perspective. Further, questions related to education levels in ancient and medieval times have been asked by UPSC before. Case in point, this 2016 PYQ. So in this regard, let us understand the importance of Nalanda University, which was also known as Nalanda Mahavihara. Now the university, it is established in the very vicinity of the ancient Nalanda University and its ruins. Now the ruins of Nalanda University, it was declared by UNESCO as a World Cultural Heritage in the year 2016. Now this university, it was even found in the writings of Chinese traveler, that was Huansang. Now this university, it was established during the period of Gupta Empire, that is between 3rd and 6th century, and the founder of this university was the King Kumaragupta I. Now, various other successors of this king also patronized and built up upon the university, and the university was also patronized post the Gupta period by King Harshvardhana in the 7th century and by the Pala rulers between 8th to 12th century. Further, the curriculum that was taught in Nalanda, it included not just philosophies of Buddhists such as Mahayana, Hinayana, Samkhya, but it also included other subjects such as Ved, Sanskrit, grammar, medicine, and logic. The important aspect or the most transformative part of this university that it also undertook international students from various Southeast nations. Further, this university was famed for its learned professor who in ancient times were termed as Upadhyaya or another name as Upadhyay. Further, there are many various famous scholars that have been associated with this particular university, that is Nagarjun, Aryadev, Vasubandhu as well as Asanga. Now this university, it was destroyed back in 1190s by the Turkish ruler that was Bakhtiyar Khilji. So based on this information, let us now solve the practice question. Consider the following statements in reference to Nalanda Mahavihara. The Kumaragupta one, who was the founder of this Mahavihara, which is a correct statement as I have already highlighted here, because Kumaragupta was a Gupta empire and Kumaragupta first established this very university. Now the philosophical teachings at this Mahavira, it only focused on Mahayana tradition, which you can understand is incorrect, because this university, it included studies related to major Buddhist philosophy, not just Mahayana Buddhism, but also Hinayana and Samkhya Buddhism as well. Now, Asanga and Nagarjuna, they were famous scholars who were associated with this Mahavira, which you can understand is the correct, as I have highlighted that Nagarjuna, Aryadev, Vasubandhu and Asanga are the famous scholars associated with Nalanda University. Now, the fourth statement, during the period of Palas, the Mahavira, it began to decline, which is again incorrect, because this university was also patronized by the Pala rulers between 8th to 12th century. So, which of these statements given above is or are incorrect? Please make sure to tick the right answer, as this asks us you to identify incorrect statement. As statement 4 and 2 were incorrect, hence option C is the right answer to this practice question. Now let us move to next article, which also appeared in the Hindu newspaper. It highlighted that despite rising number of rail accidents, the KAVACH system is still in progress in terms of its implementation. Now this KAVACH system is a train protection system which have been in news due to related train incidents. Now questions related to application and development of new technology, which forms a part of GS paper 3 syllabus, is asked in various different prelims examinations, especially in this 2018 prelims. So based on this, let us understand what is this KAVACH system all about. Now this system is an indigenously developed system which acts as an automatic train protection system. Now this system was brought forward by research, design and standard organizations of the Indian Railway in collaboration with Indian industry. Now let us understand what are the various features of this very system. First is that the information which is provided to the local loco pilots, it is provided in form of what kind of permissible speed should they operate their trains on. Further, this system, it automatically activates the train's braking system if in case the driver fails to control the speed as per the restricted speed. Further, in case the driver jumps the red signal, this system, it automatically applies the brakes to the train in addition to activating the hooter. And this system plays a key role in protecting the train in events such as dense fog events. Further, this system also relays SOS message during the emergency situation. Now this system, it enables the Indian Railway to centralize, monitor its trains operation. Now let us understand how the working of this system takes place. Sorry. Now, as you can understand, this system operates on the combination of both GPS as well as radio communication technology through use of RFID tags. Now, first of all, this GPS, it gauges the speed and location of train. Further, these RFID tags have been embedded on various signals and crossings, and the reader is embedded on these very trains, which enables these trains to read RFID tags of various signals and checkpoints. Hence, whenever the train breaches these RFID tags over a permissible speed limit, it automatically implements the KAVACH system, thereby protecting the train from various accidents. Understood. So this system, it operates on a combination of GPS as well as RFID technology. So based on this information, let us now solve the practice question. The statement 1, KAVACH, it activates train's braking system automatically if the driver fails to control the train as per the speed restriction, which is correct, as this is an automatic system which applies the brake automatically. Further, the traffic collision avoidance system, that is KAVACH system, it enables two-way communication between station master and loco pilot using the NFC technology, which again is an incorrect statement because it uses GPS and radio technology, that is RFID tags, and not NFC or near field communication. So as only statement 1 is correct, hence option A is the right answer to this practice question. Now let us quickly move to the last article of the day, which you can see also appeared in the explain section of the Indian Express newspaper. Now, as the new Lok Sabha, it will start its functioning from June the 24th, it brings our attention to the post of speaker. Because according to Article 94 of the Indian Constitution, the speaker, he or she remains in the office until the first meeting of next Lok Sabha. So you can understand the office of speaker will be vacant after the Lok Sabha is constituted newly on the period of 24th of June. So this brings our attention to the post of Pro-tem Speaker. Because functioning of various state and parliament legislature, it is important from GS paper 2 syllabus. Further, questions related to presiding officers of both or either houses, it is important from prelims perspective as well. Case in point, this PYQ of the year 2022. So in this regard, let us understand what is this post of Pro-tem Speaker all about. Now, as the word Pro-tem, it highlights a temporary word. So the office of Pro-tem Speaker is there until the new speaker is elected. Now, is the constitution mentions anything about the Pro-tem Speaker? The answer is no. So the mention of Pro-tem Speaker, it is there in the handbook of the working of Ministry of Parliament Affairs, as it talks about of various powers and responsibilities of the Speaker Pro-tem. Because according to this handbook, the senior most member of the House, which is senior most in terms of number of years of holding the membership of the House, he or she is appointed as the Pro-tem Speaker in general. Further, the President himself administers the oath to the Speaker Pro-tem. Further, the powers of this Pro-tem Speaker is as same as the power of Speaker of the House, which makes the Pro-tem Speaker enabled to preside over the first sitting of the House. Now, the presiding over the first sitting, it is essential because it enables the Pro-tem Speaker to administer oath, first of all, to the newest member. And it also enables the Pro-tem Speaker to enable the House to elect the new Speaker as well. So, whenever the new Speaker is elected by the House, the office of Pro-tem Speaker, it ceases to exist. So, naturally, you can understand this is a temporary office which is held by an senior most member of the House in terms of years of the membership of the House. So based on this information, let us now solve the practice question on Pro-tem Speaker. The first statement, appointment, functions and duties of Speaker and Speaker Pro-tem are defined in the Constitution. which you can understand is an incorrect statement, because although Constitution speaks about the speaker's appointment and function, however, the Constitution does not highlight any function related to the speaker pro tem. Further, the speaker pro tem has all the powers of speaker and he presides over the first sitting of the newly elected Lok Sabha, which is a correct statement as I have already highlighted here. The third statement, usually the oldest elected members of the house, they are appointed as speaker pro tem, which again is an incorrect statement because the office of pro tem speaker, it is not given to the oldest elected member. Rather, it is given to a member who is senior most in terms of amount of years he or she has held the membership of that particular house. So as statement first and third is incorrect, and the question it asks us to identify incorrect statement, hence option A is the right answer to this practice question. So with this, we conclude our today's session of Daily News Simplified, and we'll see you again tomorrow 6 p.m. sharp. Until then, I bid you a very good night.